Once upon a time. Isn't that how stories are supposed to begin? That is how my mother always began her stories. But why can't they end that way? Because the ending is usually when the promise of everlasting happiness is proclaimed. What are stories if not the memories of our people? And if memory is any clue, there is no guarantee of happiness. Is it just a myth that there is any such thing as happily ever after? Memory is a broken mirror, fragments of reflective glass and fractures of light, gleaming in brilliance for a moment before fading forever into vague washes of soft color and deepening shade. Sometimes, the harder we try to focus on them, the more they fade and slip from our grasp. Beautiful shards that, when taken all together, make us who we are. Memories or dreams. Sometimes it is impossible to tell the difference. Last night in my dreams, a mysterious wizard came to me. He spoke in a foreign voice, a series of strange sounds that formed a single word. In that word was a message that I understood. He said that I had been chosen, and at the same time, cursed. Lula, he said, because of your gifts of both endurance and vision, you have been chosen to retrieve the sacred relic of your people, the Genie. But another wizard, who wants the Genie for himself, has cursed you with the inability to run. Even now he makes his way to the top of the mountain to claim it as his own. You must reach the Genie before him and learn its purpose, its power, for if he takes possession of it, you will be further cursed with the inability to walk. You and your people will never again be free to choose your own path. So make haste, child. Do not tarry. Though the path is long, it is the shortest. Though the path is not easy, it is simple. Though you walk alone, fear not. I will be with you. But you will soon have an important choice that only you can make, and that choice will make all the difference. Thus, I woke to a morning of light drizzle, and under the soft light of early dawn, began to walk towards the mountain of fire. Life in the village has fallen out of balance since the Genie disappeared. Before then, we had the freedom to choose our own paths in life. But now they are decreed by the shamans when we come of age. There are hunters and fishers, collectors and keepers, weavers and walkers. Only one path has ever been chosen for each person, until me. The shamans decreed that I am both weaver and walker. Weavers do not just weave fish baskets and blankets, they are also weavers of words, poets and storytellers. They keep the history of our people and weave their words into the warp and woof of every textile. Walkers are the wanderers and wanderers, the dreamers and askers of questions. They are the seekers of whatever light they may find to illuminate the darkest corners of hearts and minds. Of all that have walked away from the village, none have returned. This left path feels right. sky itself were racked by her sorrows, seized in the rictus of the dead, their coronal pallor, lily cold, white as whales, convalescing 10,000 feet too deep. Is it horror or beauty they feel? Or are they the same things? Or is it simply the end of feeling, perhaps mercifully, perhaps tragically? Death and wondered what it was. I have been there to hold the dying when the shamans pressed a finger to their mouths and whispered them away. We each imagine something different for them, whatever soothes the heart, but I fear that death is nothing. How can we know? It seems impossible to imagine the end of imagination, to think of the end of thought. The answer to the mystery of death may be in the answer to the mystery of life. Then the universe held its breath, as if the gods themselves are waiting for a sign in their long slumber to wake them from dream. The shamans say that the gods fell asleep long ago, before the time of people, when there was nothing but stars in the darkness. In their sleep, they dream the world and us into being. It's a pretty myth, but I wonder if it's true, and if so, what happens when they wake? As I walk, I wonder what I will find at the top of the mountain of fire. I have only heard of the Genie in stories and have never seen it myself. I feel awe, and with it, more than a little fear. Can there be reverence without fear? Awe without mystery? We seek answers but resist them when they threaten the notions we feel. Often we prefer to dwell in the dreams of the heart than in the truth of the mind. The Genie has power. This much I know. I would definitely choose the right path if I had another chance. I remember my mother, though I was only a girl of 8 when she walked away from the village and me forever. I remember that day and have dreamed it many times since. When she came of age, the shamans had decreed that she was a walker. But this brought her great sorrow, because she was certain she was a weaver. She felt cursed. She longed for the return of the Genie so she could decide her own path. day she left was a cold and rainy autumn day, before the tall grasses had been harvested. I saw her in her sky-blue summer dress, long hair, black as the night, wade far out into the field and then stop. She gazed upwards into the sky as the wind made her distant figure look like a broken patch of summer sky, fallen to the ground and battered by the breeze. She clutched herself with her arms, and I felt her sadness. I ran to her as fast as I could. When I finally got to her side, I stopped and reached to take her hand. She felt my touch and pulled away, looking down at me with those pale gray eyes. Even washed in rain, I could tell she was crying. Her eyes seemed to look through me. What if it rained only once in a lifetime, and you missed it? She asked. Of me or anyone, I couldn't tell. She turned her gaze to the distant horizon and whispered, "What is life, if not the longest goodbye?" And she walked away. I close my eyes and see her hurling crumpled papers against candlelit walls, a stranger in her own body. I see her weeping somewhere in the dark corners of our cottage. It pains my father, but she couldn't heal his wounds. She was gone. He woke, the dust still moist with her tears. How she wept, and everything in my world was shattered. I hear her and feel like painting. Instead, I run. I run through the rain until it feels like pieces of glass on my skin. I run to the shoreline and fall among the ruins, where the sand meets the water, meets the sky. Because she speaks sometimes when she sleeps, entire worlds in strange articulations that sound out the heart in more uncommon clarity than my most awkwardly acrobatic didactics. Because she sleeps, sometimes when she dreams, entire worlds with certain gesticulations, her hand seemingly demonstrating a moth stricken by her charmingly unconventional inventions. Because she dreams, sometimes when she speaks, entire worlds unintentionally expressing in one simple sound why anyone, anywhere, ever. For 10 long winters, I've pondered her questions. Is life just a long goodbye? A brief, bright spark of imperfection disturbing the twin expanses of otherwise perfect, infinite nothing? Maybe that's why the shamans deemed her a walker and not a weaver. She had no answers, only questions. Questions that can only be answered by walking on the path. A journey to find some mystery to fill the cracked vessel of her heart. A journey to find the genie. But what is the genie? How could it make a difference in the freedom to choose our own paths in life? What power did it hold, and who made it? I could only hope that these questions and more would be answered when I found the genie. I daydreamed about what it would look like. I do not know how far I have yet to travel, or if ever I will find it. I worry that I have chosen the wrong path, but there is no turning back now. As a young girl, my best friend was Rofesso, a cobbler's son. He had no interest whatsoever in shoes or the making of them. We would meet in the blue fields, throw off our shoes and run. We ran until dusk and returned home only for supper, with feet filthy, our shoes lost. As we grew, our friendship also grew into affection and ultimately a deep, abiding love. The kind of love that knows you are only half of a whole. Let's jump across the gap. Professo would often take to sitting and staring into the faraway distance. There was a longing in his eyes, and I could feel sadness in him. I would take his hand and sit for hours in silence. On one such occasion, as we watched the sun setting, the late summer breeze in our hair, he looked at me and kissed me on the forehead. He said, "I have to go." My heart collapsed in my chest. Unable to stifle the tears, all I could say was, "I know." As he rose to depart into the great unknown, I asked, "Aren't you afraid of being alone?" "Yes," he said. "My fear is great that I may never see you again, but the fear of living an empty and meaningless life is far greater. Forgive me, Lula." He turned and began to walk away from me. I said, "I will watch you until I can't see you anymore." And I did. Soft gestures do not add up to your silence, and your absence, which now blankets me. Such funny sounds you made as we lay on carpets of moss. You put a flower in my hair and marveled at your work. I suffered sweetly your platitudes and knew you would be forever unmoved by me. "Forever," you whispered, your breath brushing my lips. I was there, undone in fistfuls of flowers. Alone, I tremble. I wonder if my mother came this way, with her blank brown eyes starved wide, rude pale her meager frame. I remember once she said to me, "In a perfect world, I'd make you princess of something, I suppose, and strictly forbid poems." Sweetly she sighed, but fearful to look upon, thin as cracked lips curling painfully up at the edges. I am only air swelling her gorgon mouth. Trembles her garden, black with forgotten orchids. I think of stairs where you padded softly, of terminal halls where you paced out the heart, in Father's own hut, a wooden vault with dust and black willows scraping the walls, in your dull, empty room, an insurgent sun flickering again, fed on dry fumes. Yet something soon takes flight, and she rises sweetly again to nocturnal indigo marches. Trembles the air about you, nothing but embers, her love violet with twilight. With a turn of the neck and a tilt of the chin, she learns of stars that burn, in chaos begetting entire worlds. We learn there is no such thing as beginning and end. Would you, in your wise, wide eyes, deliver to me, in my outstretched hands, a stone? Crochet me into your sleep, weaving dreams in poetry from this darkly fraying patch. Don't let it take all your life to learn you were alive, she said to me one drizzly dawn. How my blood swelled with you. In your world, you must be 1,000 feet tall, stunned by your own grandeur. Angled, mystical, not ungraceful, Colossus. You dismiss me with coolly delivered denouements. You always knew the proper place to end a poem. I feel you wringing them out, leaving the universe crippled in comparison. If you will, tear the sky and be satisfied. I never said you were beautiful, but my hands may know the texture of closed eyelids, jawline, and perhaps that cheekbone you furrowed with creaks, afraid of only age, of yawning paralytic time, and the absolute center you could forever unfind, and otherwise trusted mirrors. I cannot reach this thing inside. Instead, hope falls through your trembling fingers, confounding even the sky. you taught tender, while stuffing softer hearts with bitter. From where I am, sepulchral among howling stones, your autumn leaf hands I would have held, hoping to salvage a wraith-racked spirit. Will you not cry out? Will you not lay claim to these sedimentary spaces? Will you not stand and cry, this, and this is mine. This only I can fill. My tears cannot be heard in such silence. Burn on fragile phoenix. Burn and be done with it. You wept for your own unfulfilled sovereignty, your mourning wild with twilight. I would have held you when the floods came, gently rocking the terrors. I could have delivered you, in your ashes, from the salty wastes you consumed with fury. Bend never again to this wound. Still you bend, clutching your sides, travailing in chaos, then slowly turn and look at me and say, nothing. Still I wander this dark world, bootless on blackthorn, adrift on an empty sea. I wonder if she walked this way, by what dreams lulled. I see her slender fingers, chewed up nails and all, trying to humbly fit themselves around gigantic teacups. There is something in it that makes me sad. I just wish I could tell you. I wish I could have told you. Maybe together we could have understood. I saw a time when we gathered together in animal skins, hunched over fires in ancient caves, and murmured a millennial conversation. Under the aegis of leaf wine, I gather my furs about me and stare into the flames. A torch song of fire opals, languid as salamanders, a writhing nest of fire snakes, lazy ribbons of flame. A dream within a dream, lovelier than death, more beautiful than night. It seems there was something we knew then, something important, long forgotten. What mysteries, scrawled on cave walls, to speak across the great spans of time? What heavy knowledge we ignored for so long that now it is too late? Or perhaps it is nothing. Every generation thinks themselves the cleverest yet. Perhaps they are just childish doodles from a simpleton folk, unable to render accurately even what they saw with their own eyes. There we go. I dreamed I was entombed, and Mother pulled back the heavy stone lid of the sarcophagus. She said, "I'll not leave you on some high grid for the vultures to pick at. Child from my womb, a corpse in the tomb, my brittle pristine, I've come to clean the spaces between bare knuckles and gold rings. Fear not the worms, for we are vermivorous, even in long sleep. Fear not in your languid vertebrae. I've come to make scarabs of us." Often when it rains, I think of the fisher, He is a solitary man who lives outside the village, in a tiny hut he made himself, on the shoreline of the sea. He would spend long days casting his line in the waters, his skin brown from the sun. I never saw him wear shoes, and his clothes were nearly the rags of a beggar. His hair and beard were long and unkempt, as if never cut or combed once in his life. The fisher never took a wife, and he had no children. No one knows from where he came. The villagers thought him eccentric, perhaps mad. He never ate the fish he caught, but traded them with the villagers for the simple goods of survival. I once saw him pick a grasshopper from a swaying reed, hold it gently in his hand, as if marveling at its construction. Then he dabbed it with a bit of wild honey he had gathered, and ate it whole.